Mother, no!
You are watching The Bible Witness.
I'm walking quickly through the alley to meet a man I knew.
Hey, handsome. Want some fun?
A prostitute tried to seduce me from a doorway, her voice teasing, her smile meant to lure. But I didn't slow down.
You don't like chicks, sir? Let me serve you in the way they can.
In this city of Sodom, pleasure reigned while the poor rotted. I keep walking until the wooden sign of the restaurant came into view. I stepped inside. The air was thick with steam, the scent of bread and sweat. There he is, the man I'm going to meet. He's sitting alone at a worn wooden table. I approached without a word and sat across from him until he pulled back his hood, revealing a face I hadn't seen in years.
Uncle Abraham!
Hear me, Lot. You must leave Sodom immediately. A disaster is coming.
As he spoke, a sudden noise cracked through the room. Two men wrestling violently in a corner. No one stopped them. No one cared. The city was rotting from the inside. Why?
I was talking with God Himself just a week ago. I remember the night clearly, the moment the darkness shifted and He came toward me. I bowed low, heart trembling, and for a long moment we stood there in silence.
The outcry against Sodom is great. I will destroy them.
Will you indeed sweep away the righteous with the wicked?
No, if there are righteous in there, I'll spare them.
Suppose there are 50 righteous within the city.
If I find 50 righteous, I will spare the whole place.
What if 5 of the 50 are lacking?
I will not destroy it if I find 45.
What if 40 are found there?
I will not do it for the sake of 40.
Suppose 30 are found there.
I will not do it if I find 30.
What if 20 are found?
For the sake of 20, I will not destroy it.
Let not the Lord be angry. What if 10 are found?
For the sake of 10, I will not destroy it.
I exhaled long and low, my eyes closing. When I opened them, He was turning away. That's when I knew that I need to meet you.
How many righteous people did you find?
4. Only a family.
Silence fell like a stone between us. I stared down at the rough wood of the table, my thoughts heavy, swirling.
I can't let Sodom be destroyed. I must save it.
Lot, save yourself.
I didn't reply. I pressed my hands to the table, rose slowly to my feet. The light from the door poured in gold across the floor as I walked toward it, my shadow stretching behind me. Behind me, I felt Abraham's gaze, but I have decided. I thought my meeting with Uncle Abraham was kept secret, but it's not. Not to supernatural beings. Somewhere, far from the flickering oil lamps and murmurs of the tavern, Azrael watched me. On the table before them, a crystal orb glowed violently, and within it, my face. He knew everything.
Interesting.
When I arrived home, I saw my wife sitting at the table, fingers clenched tight around something. Salt. We don't have much left. She was living in her own mind, just like I'm living in my own mind too. She turned, finally, her eyes catching mine, but I was far away, still watching fire fall on cities in my mind.
We have no money left. Not even enough to buy salt.
I barely heard her. Her words floated past me like distant noise. I was home, but I wasn't really there. My mind was still echoing with Abraham's voice. She watched me sit down. I could feel her holding back all the words she wanted to throw. I couldn't even look at her. My finger tapped a slow, quiet rhythm into the wood, the only sound I could make. I'm still watching fire fall on cities in my mind. She turned away, retreating into herself, but she still held the salt like it was all we had left. Maybe it was. Next morning, I stood in the heart of Sodom, hand raised high, voice breaking through the crowd. I tried to warn them. Turn away from your wickedness, but it seems that my word has no impact on them. Judgment is near. The Lord will strike this city.
Will he rain down frogs or fire this time?
He will destroy it with fire and sulfur.
Bring your virgin daughters, then we'll listen.
You mock righteousness while standing on a cliff.
Go back to your prophet games, old man.
You still have time. You can still repent.
Why should we listen to you?
Because the Lord sent me to warn you.
Then tell your Lord we're not interested.
Even now your hearts are too proud to bow.
We bow to no one, especially not invisible gods.
And I stood there, hand falling to my side, breath heavy, my warning lost in a sea of laughter and pride. I came back covered in dust and silence, each step heavier than the last. As I reached the door, I could already feel her waiting. I opened it, and there she was, standing in the center of the room, hands on her hips, eyes burning beneath the lamplight. I stepped inside and closed the door behind me, knowing what would come.
What were you thinking, shouting in the street?
I didn't answer. I couldn't. My eyes dropped to the floor.
Now no one will lend us a single coin.
Our daughter stood off to the side, frozen in the shadows. They were scared.
They say your madness has cursed this house.
The fear behind her anger was understandable. Still, I said nothing. I turned away and walked to the far corner, away from them three. My daughter took a step toward me, then stopped. She thought of saying something but couldn't figure any word. I sank to the floor, my back against the cold stone, and folded into myself. My shoulders trembled, breath sharp, tears spilled into my hands. My daughter watched, eyes wet, gaze locked on me in silence. My breath hitched, body shaking in quiet sobs I couldn't stop. Only the lamplight watched as I collapsed beneath its flicker, alone in the dark. That night, 2 streaks of light cut across the night sky, fast, bright, and silent. A moment later, they crashed on the hillside. When the smoke cleared, 2 figures stood still in the haze, wings on their backs, robes glowing faintly. They were the angels. One of them, with long blonde hair, looked out toward the distant city.
Is this the place?
The other, calm and steady, kept his eyes on the same glowing skyline.
It is...
Suddenly, light rose from their bodies, then slowly faded. The wings vanished. The glow disappeared. By the time they started walking, they looked like ordinary men. Azrael stirred from stillness. The boy beside him clung to him in sleep, unaware. But Azrael's body had tensed. He had seen something. Without a word, he rose, the silk sheets sliding off his shoulders, bare chest rising with silent breath. Across the room, the crystal orb on the table was no longer dormant. It pulsed with light. And within it, 2 figures had appeared, the twin angels. Azrael stared into them, unblinking. The violet light inside his eyes intensified. A cold edge formed at his lips. His jaw clenched. The moment had arrived. I'm leaving, before dawn if I must.
Finally, you decided.
In the corner, our daughters huddled together, hands tight, watching silently.
I have warned them, again and again, but they laugh, they mock, and they curse God's name.
The lamp flickered between us, its gentle pulse marking our silence.
Good.
The girls remained still, one's arm around the other, watching. But their hearts are stone. We can't change them. Still. I can't bear the thought that I just leave them to burn.
That's their choice.
I don't know if I still believe they want saving.
Then save what you can, Lot, even if it's only yourself.
Suddenly, a knock broke the tense silence. I opened it to two young men cloaked in soft light. Their presence was calm, otherworldly. "Please, come in." They stepped inside quietly, their shadows long across the dirt floor. I shut the door behind them, latching it slowly, already sensing what was coming. I know who were they.
My name is Gabriel.
And I am Uriel.
We have been sent by the Lord.
You must take your family and leave the city.
Leave? When?
Tonight.
Before the sun rises.
Wait, leave now? We haven't packed.
There's no time to prepare. There is no time.
You must leave everything behind.
Her eyes widened, tears forming. She didn't ready to leave our belongings behind. It took all our life to make them.
All our things, our lives.
I stood still as their shadows stretched across the tent walls. Something sacred had already begun to fall apart. They came at night, surrounding my house. I seen them through the cracks.
Bring them out, Lot. Bring those beautiful men out, so we can know them.
The whole crowd roared, waving sticks and stones. The fire behind them made their faces look even more twisted. Then a stone flew through the dark and slammed into the door with a heavy thud. I stood frozen, hand on the latch, torn. But I couldn't hide. I opened the door and stepped outside. Right away, a stone struck my forehead. Blood spilled down my face. I staggered from the pain, but forced myself to stay on my feet. The crowd kept shouting. Someone else lifted another stone. "What do you want?" Then the crowd moved aside. Someone was coming forward. He walked out from among them. Azrael, torchlight hit his eyes, cold and sharp.
Hand them over, Lot. Let us taste them.
Is that him?
Uriel nodded slowly without saying a word. Gabriel clenched his hand and looked toward the door again. Azrael took another step, pointing to the mob behind him. Blood was still dripping from my head, but I stared him down. My fear was gone. All I felt was anger. I slammed the door shut. The firelight from outside vanished, and everything fell into shadow. I leaned against the wood, breathing hard, blood still trickling from the side of my head. My daughters rushed toward me, both pale and shaking.
Father, let us go outside. Let them take us, not them.
I froze. My heart sank. I couldn't believe what I was hearing.
They're guests under our roof. This is the only way.
My chest ached. I clenched my fists to keep them from shaking of what I heard from my own daughters. "You don't know what you're asking."
You raised us to do what is right.
That broke me. A single tear slid down my face. God forgive me. I opened the door. The shouting and fire hit me like a wave. "Please, take my daughters instead. They are virgins." Laughter burst from the crowd. Some slapped their thighs.
Virgin daughters, eh? I'd try the small one first.
Then everything stopped. Azrael's smile vanished. His eyes turned to ice.
No, we came for the guests.
Murmurs rippled through the mob, faces growing darker.
Tear him down!
The crowd erupted in a howl. Blood, fire, and hate surged forward. Weapons raised, they charged. Then, out of expectation, Gabriel stepped into the yard, his face calm but firm, walking straight through the smoke and heat. Uriel followed him. Then they began to glow. Their bodies vanished into light. Wings flared out. Robes turned to flame. They stood no longer as men, but as beings made of heaven. The men's eyes started to blind.
I can't see! Help! My eye!
But Azrael didn't seem to be affected by their power.
Azrael.
You traitor.
Azrael took one step forward.
This is where I belong now.
You twisted this city.
You brought darkness here.
They chose me.
One of the men collapsed, sobbing behind him.
You will answer for what you've done.
You fell to feed your pride.
I brought them freedom.
You enslaved them to lust and wrath.
And they welcomed me with open arms.
Your time is ending, Azrael.
Azrael suddenly lunged. Gabriel lifted his hand across his chest to dog to it. Uriel struck from the side. Azrael's shoulder burst in flame. Light surged from Gabriel's palm straight at Azrael. Azrael screamed as fire overtook him. His eyes bulged. Flame swallowed his face. He was destroyed. The light stated to faint. All around them, the men of the city lay scattered, moaning, clutching their blinded faces. I saw Gabriel turn toward the door, and in that instant, I knew we had to go now. Uriel didn't wait. He grabbed my wife by the wrist and pulled her. Gabriel reached for me and yanked me toward the doorway. My legs moved before my thoughts could catch up. My daughters were just behind us, clutching each other's hands like they were afraid to let go. We ran. All of us. Out into the night, away from the house, away from everything. I didn't dare look back. Gabriel led me across the ridge of sand, my feet sinking with every step. I didn't ask where we were going. I just followed. I could hear my wife's footsteps behind me, uneven, dragging. Uriel held her up. My daughters stayed close, hands clasped, eyes locked ahead. I hadn't seen them cry. I don't know if they still could. We moved in a line like shadows, the six of us, the city shrinking behind. Each step forward felt heavier than the last. Then the sky broke. A single line of fire split the dark. My breath caught. More came. Fire poured down from the stars. The sky itself turned against the place we'd called home. I didn't need to see it. The sound reached me before the meaning did. Somewhere behind that horizon, people still ran, still hoped. But hope can't outrun fire. Some prayers are already too late. Even the strong froze. There comes a moment when even violence forgets what it's for. The ground must have shattered. Pain fell on the innocent and the guilty alike. Judgment doesn't aim. All gone, all burned. They must have screamed. But death turned their voices to silence. Flame found flesh. That was always the end of this. I didn't need to watch. I already carried enough ghosts. Fire rose like a verdict written in the sky. The city was not just ending, it was being erased. And still, they ran. Even at the end, people cling to walls and gates as if they can hold back heaven. The final fall came not from the fire, but from the weight of what the city had become.
My house! My thing!
Do not look back!
My wife cannot escape the city, not in her mind.
Mother, no!
And then she was no longer my wife. There was no prayer for what had just happened. My tears fell. The past gripped my wife harder than any flame could. We stopped our journey in a cave. When I looked up, I broke. She was gone. Just like that. I didn't even get to hold her. I wiped my tears, but they kept coming. My eyes blurred, but her face stayed clear in my mind. I lay down, drained. My arm fell beside me. I felt hollow. I closed my eyes. Each breath hurt. I kept seeing her, the moment she turned. My daughters sat nearby, quiet. I couldn't look at them. I couldn't say her name.
Everything is gone. Cities, the people. No one survived. Not even Mother. We are alone now, only us and Father. If we do nothing, there will be no more people. We must do what is necessary.
I was drunk and unconscious when they started to do it. I didn't know anything. I was still asleep while she did the unforgivable. I was raped by both my daughter. Was that the karma for all the sins I committed when I was in Sodom? Guess I would never know. Behind us, the cities burned, and I had nothing left.
What if the most ancient feud in history isn't just about land, but about something far deeper, a battle foretold in sacred texts thousands of years ago? The Israel-Palestine conflict is one of the most polarizing and debated issues in our world today. For some, it's a matter of politics, a struggle for sovereignty and survival, but for others, particularly those familiar with the Bible, it's a spiritual war that has been playing out since the days of Abraham. Two perspectives, one conflict. What lies at the heart of this enduring enmity? To truly understand, we must look back. The story begins with ancient promises made to Abraham, a man revered as the patriarch of both Jews and Arabs. These promises, recorded in the Bible, speak of land and blessings for his descendants. But who are these descendants, and how did a divine covenant spark such a profound divide? Over time, the promises of the past have collided with the realities of the present, shaping the geopolitics of the modern Middle East in ways that few could have imagined. This exploration will take you through biblical events and prophecies that are deeply tied to the identity of Israel and Palestine, as well as the historical turning points that have fueled the conflict. It's a journey that will uncover how spiritual beliefs intersect with political ambitions, shedding light on why this struggle remains unresolved. If you've ever been curious about the deeper forces at play in one of history's longest-running disputes, stay with us. And if you're intrigued by the connections between ancient texts and the world we live in today, make sure to like and subscribe. Let's step back in time to uncover the roots of this conflict, beginning with a man, a promise, and a question that changed the course of history. Biblical foundations and ancient history. The story of the Israel-Palestine conflict has roots that reach back thousands of years to the time of the Bible. To truly understand this struggle, we need to start with Abraham, his family, and the promises that shaped their connection to the land. It all begins with Abraham, a central figure in the histories of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. In the Bible, God makes a special promise to Abraham known as a covenant, promising that his descendants would inherit the land of Canaan. But Abraham's family story complicates this promise, as he had two sons, Isaac, born to his wife Sarah, and Ishmael, born to Hagar, Sarah's servant. According to Genesis 17:1-19, God chooses Isaac, Sarah's son, as the one through whom this covenant will continue. This decision establishes Isaac's descendants, the Israelites, as the inheritors of the promised blessings and the land. But Ishmael was not forgotten. In Genesis 16:10-12, God promises that Ishmael will also become the father of a great nation. Ishmael's 12 sons, mentioned in Genesis 25:12-18, are believed to be the ancestors of various Arab tribes, forming a vast network of people who spread across the Arabian Peninsula and beyond. These descendants would later form the backbone of the Arab world, which includes the Palestinians. Islamic tradition adds depth to this narrative, viewing Ishmael as the forefather of the Prophet Muhammad and a patriarch of Arab peoples. For Arabs, the lineage of Ishmael ties their identity and heritage to the sacred lands of the region, particularly Mecca, and by extension, other historically significant areas such as Jerusalem. The relationship between the descendants of Isaac and Ishmael is woven with both shared ancestry and tension. While the Bible focuses on the Israelites' covenant, later Islamic teachings emphasize Ishmael's role in God's plan, framing him as a prophet and integral to the spread of monotheism. These parallel yet divergent narratives have sown seeds of both unity and rivalry, which reverberate through history. Generations later, Isaac's descendants form the Israelite nation. Under Kings Saul, David, and Solomon, they unify into a powerful kingdom. David conquers Jerusalem, making it the political and spiritual heart of the nation. Then Solomon, David's son, builds the first temple, a sacred place that becomes the center of worship for the Israelites. During this golden age, it seemed like the promises to Abraham had been fully realized, a united people living in their promised land. However, these achievements did not bring lasting peace. After Solomon's death, the kingdom splits into two, Israel in the north and Judah in the south. This division weakens the Israelites and makes them vulnerable to powerful empires like Assyria and Babylon. In 586 BCE, the Babylonians, led by King Nebuchadnezzar, conquer Jerusalem and destroy the first temple. For the Jewish people, this is more than just a military defeat. It's a spiritual crisis, as they are exiled from the land that was promised to them by God. Yet the Bible frames this exile as both a punishment and a prophetic fulfillment, a theme echoed by prophets such as Jeremiah and Ezekiel. This period of exile is significant because it intensifies the Jewish longing for their homeland and strengthens their spiritual identity. But the story doesn't end there. In 539 BCE, the Persian Empire, under Cyrus the Great, defeats Babylon. Cyrus allows the Jewish exiles to return to their homeland and rebuild the temple. This second temple renews their hope and re-establishes their connection to the land, even as they face new challenges. Meanwhile, the descendants of Ishmael continue to grow in influence across the Arabian Peninsula, establishing trade routes, cultural networks, and spiritual traditions that will later play a significant role in the emergence of Islam. The Bible's prophetic texts also add complexity to this history. Books like Isaiah, Daniel, and Zechariah contain visions of future conflicts and divine restoration centered on Jerusalem. Zechariah 12:2-3, for example, speaks of Jerusalem becoming a cup of trembling for all nations, a prophecy often interpreted as reflecting the city's enduring centrality and contentiousness. These prophecies are key to understanding the spiritual stakes of the land, not just for Jews, but for Christians and Muslims as well, who see in them hints of divine purpose and end times significance. The stories of Abraham's sons and the Israelite kingdom form the spiritual foundation for claims to the land that continue today. For Jewish people, the covenant with Isaac's descendants is seen as proof of their historical and divine connection to the land of Israel. For many Arabs, the blessings promised to Ishmael validate their ties to the same land, especially in Islamic tradition, which holds the land as sacred. These ancient stories, filled with promises and struggles, have evolved into a deep and complex conflict that still resonates in the modern world. This biblical history helps us see how past events influence today's disputes. The promises to Abraham, the rise and fall of kingdoms, and the resilience of exiled people are all threads in a story that continues to unfold. From Roman rule to the Jewish diaspora, the transition from ancient Israel to a dispersed Jewish population begins with the centuries following the Persian Empire's rule. After the Persian king Cyrus the Great allowed Jewish exiles to return and rebuild the Second Temple in 539 before the Common Era, Judea became a province within the larger Persian Empire. The Jews experienced relative autonomy under Persian governance, maintaining their religious practices and rebuilding their cultural identity. During this time, the Second Temple became the focal point of Jewish worship, and many of the traditions and institutions central to Judaism were developed or reinforced. When the Persian Empire fell to Alexander the Great in 332, before the Common Era, the region transitioned to Hellenistic rule under the successors of Alexander, known as the Diadochi. Initially, the Ptolemies of Egypt controlled Judea, followed by the Seleucids based in Syria. The Hellenistic period brought significant cultural and political challenges for the Jewish population. While many Jews adopted Greek customs and language, others resisted, leading to internal divisions. This tension reached a crisis under the Seleucid king Antiochus IV Epiphanes, who sought to impose Greek culture and religion on his subjects. In 167 before the Common Era, he desecrated the Second Temple by dedicating it to Zeus, triggering the Maccabean revolt. The revolt, led by the Hasmonean family, restored Jewish control over the temple and established an independent Jewish kingdom that lasted for about a century. This independence ended in 63 before the Common Era, when the Roman general Pompey conquered Jerusalem, integrating Judea into the Roman Republic as a client kingdom. Initially, the Romans allowed local rulers, such as Herod the Great, to govern under their oversight. Herod, while known for his ambitious building projects, including the expansion of the Second Temple, was also infamous for his harsh rule and allegiance to Rome. After Herod's death, Judea became a Roman province directly governed by Roman officials. Roman rule brought heavy taxation and interference in Jewish religious life. The Romans levied taxes on agricultural produce, goods, and even imposed a poll tax, which created significant economic strain on the population. Additionally, Roman governors often disrespected Jewish customs and practices, leading to widespread resentment. One notable example was the placement of imperial standards bearing pagan symbols in Jerusalem, seen as an affront to Jewish monotheism. The tension between the Jewish population and the Roman authorities steadily grew, fueled by both economic exploitation and religious provocations. These tensions boiled over into open conflict during the Great Jewish Revolt of 66 Common Era. The rebellion was a desperate attempt to overthrow Roman rule and restore Jewish independence. However, the Romans responded with overwhelming force. Under General Vespasian and later his son Titus, the Roman army systematically crushed the revolt. In 70 Common Era, Titus led the siege of Jerusalem, resulting in the city's fall and the destruction of the Second Temple. The devastation marked a turning point for the Jewish people as it ended their political autonomy and initiated a widespread diaspora. Survivors were killed, enslaved, or dispersed across the Roman Empire, further scattering the Jewish population. The destruction of the Second Temple was not only a political catastrophe, but also a spiritual one. Jewish religious practices, which had centered on temple worship and sacrifices, adapted to a new reality. Synagogues became the focal points of community and worship, and the study of Torah took on even greater significance. This transformation helped preserve Jewish identity and culture through centuries of exile. Yet, the hope of returning to Jerusalem, Zion, remained a cornerstone of Jewish prayer and tradition. Biblical prophecies like Ezekiel 36:24, "For I will take you out of the nations, I will gather you from all the countries and bring you back into your own land," kept alive the vision of restoration and fueled Jewish resilience. Meanwhile, Arab tribes in the region remained largely independent. Many engaged in trade, connecting the Arabian Peninsula with the Mediterranean. Some allied with the Romans, while others maintained autonomy. Their influence grew significantly with the rise of Islam in the 7th century, brought dramatic changes to the region. Arab Muslim armies conquered Jerusalem in 637 Common Era during the reign of Caliph Umar, marking the beginning of Islamic dominance in the Holy Land. Under Islamic rule, Jerusalem became a key religious center, associated with the Prophet Muhammad's night journey. The construction of the Dome of the Rock and Al-Aqsa Mosque on the Temple Mount symbolized the city's importance in Islam and added a new layer of religious significance to the contested land. From medieval period to modern Zionism, as the Ottoman Empire declined and the modern age approached, the region of Palestine experienced profound changes. Two powerful movements began to emerge: Jewish Zionism and Arab nationalism. These movements, driven by deep cultural, religious, and political aspirations, would shape the region's destiny. For centuries, the Jewish diaspora had carried the hope of returning to their ancestral homeland. This longing was rooted in biblical prophecies and traditions passed down through generations. The prophet Ezekiel, for example, declared in Ezekiel 36:24, "For I will take you out of the nations. I will gather you from all the countries and bring you back into your own land." Similarly, Isaiah 11:11-12 spoke of God's promise to bring back the scattered remnants of Israel. These words offered comfort during long periods of exile and persecution and fueled the vision of a return to Zion. By the late 19th century, this hope gained new urgency as European nationalism rose and anti-Semitism grew, particularly in Eastern Europe. Pogroms and widespread discrimination forced waves of Jewish immigrants to seek refuge in Palestine, then part of the Ottoman Empire. Theodor Herzl, often called the father of modern Zionism, captured this aspiration in his influential book Der Judenstaat, The Jewish State, in 1896. Herzl argued that only a sovereign homeland could offer safety and dignity to the Jewish people. In 1897, the first Zionist Congress in Basel, Switzerland, formalized these ideas, setting the stage for efforts to establish a Jewish state in Palestine. At the same time, Arab nationalism was taking shape, driven by a desire for autonomy from Ottoman control and resistance to European imperialism. Arabs living in Palestine and the broader Middle East had a deep connection to their land, language, and Islamic heritage. As the Ottoman Empire weakened, Arab leaders and intellectuals began to advocate for greater unity and independence. While Palestine's Arab population was initially small and mostly rural, concerns grew as Jewish immigration increased under the Zionist movement. These concerns centered on preserving Arab identity and land ownership. At the turn of the 20th century, these overlapping aspirations set the stage for conflict. Jewish immigrants, purchasing land from absentee Ottoman landlords, established agricultural settlements. Although legal, these transactions often displaced Arab tenant farmers, creating tensions. These Jewish settlements, known as kibbutzim, embodied Zionist ideals of reclaiming and cultivating the land, but also represented a growing presence that many Arabs saw as a threat. Birth of the modern conflict. World War I brought monumental shifts to the region. The Ottoman Empire's collapse during the war left Palestine under British control, formalized through the League of Nations mandate system in 1920. During the war, Britain issued the Balfour Declaration in 1917, expressing support for a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. While celebrated by the Zionist movement, this declaration was deeply resented by the Arab population, who felt betrayed by British promises of Arab independence in exchange for support against the Ottomans made in the McMahon-Hussein correspondence. These contradictory promises planted the seeds of mistrust and conflict. Under the British Mandate, 1920 to 1948, Jewish immigration to Palestine surged, especially as anti-Semitism and violence against Jews escalated in Europe. The Holocaust during World War II underscored the urgency of establishing a Jewish homeland. Nazi Germany systematically murdered 6 million Jews, along with millions of others, in a campaign of genocide. The horrors of Auschwitz, Treblinka, and other concentration camps shocked the world and highlighted the need for a safe refuge. This tragedy seemed to echo the warnings in Deuteronomy 28:64-65 about the suffering and dispersion of Israel, but also reinforced the hope of restoration found in Isaiah 51:11. Those the Lord has rescued will return. They will enter Zion with singing. Everlasting joy will crown their heads. As Jewish immigration increased, so did Arab resistance. Protests turned into violence, and in 1936, a large Arab uprising against British rule and Jewish immigration broke out. The Arab Revolt lasted until 1939, highlighting the deep divisions between the two groups and the British inability to mediate. While the revolt was suppressed, it left lasting scars and further polarized the communities. After World War II, global sympathy for the Jewish cause grew, driven by the scale of the Holocaust's devastation. In 1947, the United Nations proposed a partition plan to create separate Jewish and Arab states in Palestine, with Jerusalem as an international city. Jewish leaders accepted the plan, but Arab leaders rejected it, viewing it as an unjust division of their homeland. Violence erupted, culminating in the declaration of the State of Israel in 1948. The subsequent Arab-Israeli war led to the displacement of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians, an event known as the Nakba, or catastrophe. The rise of Zionism and Arab nationalism transformed Palestine into a battleground of competing identities and visions. These movements, rooted in history and deeply held beliefs, collided in ways that continue to shape the region. The struggles over land, identity, and sovereignty from this era remain at the heart of the ongoing conflict. Post-war period and the Six-Day War. The Six-Day War of 1967 was a pivotal moment in the Israel-Palestine conflict, reshaping the Middle East and leaving an impact that is still felt today. This short but intense war, fought between Israel and its neighboring Arab states, Egypt, Jordan, and Syria, stemmed from unresolved tensions and escalating rivalries that had been building for decades. The roots of this conflict can be traced back to 1948, following the Nakba, or catastrophe, when hundreds of thousands of Palestinians were displaced as a result of the Arab-Israeli war. Refugee camps swelled, and generations grew up in conditions of loss and exile, nurturing a deep sense of injustice. The newly established State of Israel faced immediate hostility from its Arab neighbors, who refused to recognize its existence. These unresolved tensions simmered for years, as Israel sought to secure its borders and Arab states aimed to restore Palestinian lands. By the 1960s, the rise of Palestinian nationalism and the growing influence of leaders like Egypt's President Gamal Abdel Nasser intensified the situation. Nasser, a champion of pan-Arab unity, called for resistance against Israel and sought to unite the Arab world under a common cause. Meanwhile, Palestinian guerrilla groups such as Fatah began carrying out cross-border raids into Israel, leading to Israeli reprisals and escalating cycles of violence. The conflict appeared to be heading toward an inevitable breaking point. Tensions reached a critical level in the mid-1960s. Skirmishes along Israel's borders grew more frequent, and Arab nations increased their rhetoric and military preparations. In 1967, Egypt mobilized its army in the Sinai Peninsula, expelled United Nations peacekeeping forces, and blockaded the Straits of Tiran, a crucial shipping route for Israel. These actions were seen by Israel as acts of aggression, and the region stood on the brink of war. On June 5, 1967, Israel launched a preemptive strike against Egypt, targeting its air force and securing air superiority within hours. The conflict quickly escalated as Jordan and Syria entered the fray. Over the next 6 days, Israel achieved a stunning victory, capturing the Sinai Peninsula and Gaza Strip from Egypt, the West Bank and East Jerusalem from Jordan, and the Golan Heights from Syria. These territorial gains drastically altered Israel's borders and the dynamics of the region. The capture of East Jerusalem in particular was laden with historical and spiritual significance. For the first time in nearly 2,000 years, Jerusalem's old city and the Western Wall came under Jewish control. Many viewed this as a fulfillment of biblical prophecies, The prophet Zechariah had written, "Behold, I will make Jerusalem a cup of trembling unto all the people round about. All the people of the earth will gather against it." Zechariah 12:2-3. Similarly, Ezekiel 36:24 echoed in the minds of many, "For I will take you out of the nations. I will gather you from all the countries and bring you back into your own land." While the war was a triumph for Israel, it came at a cost. The occupation of the West Bank, Gaza Strip, and other territories presented new challenges. These areas were home to large Palestinian populations who now lived under Israeli control. For Palestinians, the war was a devastating setback. Many were displaced for a second time, and life in the occupied territories was marked by hardship and uncertainty. Palestinian anger grew, and their resolve to fight for self-determination only deepened. The sense of loss among Palestinians was palpable, echoing the warnings in Luke 21:24. "Jerusalem will be trampled on by the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles are fulfilled." The aftermath of the Six-Day War had a profound impact on the broader Middle East. Arab states, humiliated by their defeat, faced internal struggles and began rethinking their strategies toward Israel. The war also set the stage for future conflicts, including the Yom Kippur War of 1973 and the ongoing cycles of violence that persist today. The territories captured during the war remain at the heart of the Israel-Palestine conflict, with disputes over land, sovereignty, and security continuing to fuel tensions. The legacy of the Six-Day War is deeply woven into the history of the region. For some, it represents the fulfillment of ancient prophecies and the realization of long-held aspirations. For others, it symbolizes the deepening of historical injustices and the enduring pain of displacement. Understanding this moment is crucial to grasping the complexities of the Israel-Palestine conflict and the broader challenges of achieving peace in the Middle East. Jerusalem as a sacred battleground. Jerusalem has always been at the heart of the Israel-Palestine conflict, not just as a geographical point, but as a sacred battleground cherished by Jews, Christians, and Muslims alike. Its profound spiritual meaning, combined with its political and historical significance, has made it a central stage for tension and devotion over centuries. For Jews, Jerusalem is their eternal capital, the site of their ancient temples, and the heart of their identity. The Western Wall, a surviving part of the Second Temple destroyed by the Romans in 70 Common Era, remains one of Judaism's holiest sites. Biblical prophecies, such as Zechariah 12:3, describe Jerusalem as a burdensome stone for the nations, symbolizing its enduring role in Jewish destiny and the divine plan. Throughout centuries of exile, the longing for Jerusalem has been a cornerstone of Jewish prayers and traditions. Zechariah 14:2-4 even foretells a climactic event where nations gather against Jerusalem, only for divine intervention to reshape its future. Then the Lord will go out and fight against those nations. His feet will stand on the Mount of Olives. For Christians, Jerusalem is a sacred place tied to the life and death of Jesus Christ. It is where Jesus was crucified, buried, and resurrected, making it the spiritual foundation of their faith. Sites like the Church of the Holy Sepulchre and the Via Dolorosa attract millions of pilgrims every year, serving as reminders of these pivotal events. In Christian theology, Jerusalem also plays a role in end times prophecies. Revelation 21:2 envisions a new Jerusalem descending from heaven, described as a bride beautifully dressed for her husband, representing a renewed and perfect city in God's ultimate plan for humanity. For Muslims, Jerusalem holds immense spiritual importance as the location of Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Dome of the Rock, two of Islam's holiest sites. According to Islamic tradition, the Prophet Muhammad visited Jerusalem during the night journey, Isra and Miraj, ascending to heaven from the rock now housed within the dome of the rock. Known as Al-Quds, meaning the Holy, Jerusalem has long been a symbol of faith and resilience for Muslims, particularly for Palestinians who see it as central to their identity and aspirations. This profound spiritual significance has also made Jerusalem a flashpoint for political tensions. After the Six-Day War in 1967, Israel captured East Jerusalem, including the Old City, unifying the city under Israeli control. For Jews, this moment was seen as a fulfillment of ancient promises and prophecies, but for Palestinians and much of the Muslim world, it was viewed as an occupation. The status of Jerusalem remains one of the most sensitive and contentious issues in any peace negotiations. On the global stage, Jerusalem's status is a delicate matter. Israel considers the city its undivided capital, while the United Nations and many countries view East Jerusalem as occupied territory, envisioning it as the future capital of a Palestinian state. This duality underscores the city's complex identity as both a unifying symbol for believers and a source of division in global politics. Prophetic interpretations add another layer of depth to Jerusalem's story. Alongside Zechariah's visions, passages in Ezekiel 38-39 describe a future battle involving nations surrounding Israel, often interpreted as a precursor to the Messianic age. Revelation 16:16 references Armageddon, a final confrontation centered around Jerusalem that symbolizes the climax of human history and divine judgment. For many believers, these prophecies provide a framework to understand modern events, intertwining faith with geopolitics. Jerusalem's role as a sacred battleground highlights the powerful intersection of religion, history, and politics in the Israel-Palestine conflict. The city's contested status embodies the broader struggles over identity, sovereignty, and faith, making it far more than just a city. It stands as a symbol of humanity's enduring quest for peace, justice, and meaning. The Israel-Palestine conflict is not just a struggle over land. It is a story that intertwines history, identity, faith, and the human quest for peace. Rooted in ancient promises and historical grievances, this conflict remains one of the most complex and deeply emotional disputes in the modern world. At its core, the conflict is about two peoples, each with deep historical ties to the same land. For Jews, the land of Israel represents the fulfillment of biblical covenants and a refuge after centuries of persecution. For Palestinians, it is their ancestral home, rich with cultural and historical heritage. This dual claim to the land has fueled tensions for generations, exacerbated by wars, displacement, and competing national movements. The modern phase of the conflict began in the 20th century, with the rise of Zionism and Arab nationalism, intensified by British promises during World War I. The establishment of the State of Israel in 1948 was a moment of triumph for Jews, but a catastrophe, or Nakba, for Palestinians. Wars in 1948, 1967, and beyond reshaped the region, displacing millions and creating a legacy of unresolved grievances and mistrust. Jerusalem, with its unparalleled spiritual significance to Jews, Christians, and Muslims, has become a focal point of this conflict. The city embodies the intersection of faith and politics, serving as both a unifying symbol and a deeply contested space. Its capture by Israel in the Six-Day War of 1967 intensified these divisions, as competing claims over the city reflect the broader struggles of the conflict. Prophecies from sacred texts often frame the narrative for believers. For Jews, the prophet Zechariah foretold in Zechariah 12:3 that Jerusalem would become a burdensome stone for all nations, a reflection of its enduring significance and the struggles surrounding it. Similarly, Zechariah 14:2-4 describes a future time when nations will gather against Jerusalem, but divine intervention will transform the city's fate. Then the Lord will go out and fight against those nations. His feet will stand on the Mount of Olives. These visions resonate deeply, particularly in light of the city's long history of conflict and survival. In Christian theology, the hope for a peaceful resolution is often linked to the vision of a new Jerusalem. Revelation 21:2 describes this heavenly city descending from God, prepared as a bride beautifully dressed for her husband. This new Jerusalem represents ultimate reconciliation and the promise of peace, symbolizing a world free from conflict and filled with divine presence. Revelation 21:4 continues with a profound promise. He will wipe every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain, for the old order of things has passed away. Isaiah and Micah also envision a time when nations will turn away from violence. Isaiah 2:4 declares, "They will beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation will not take up sword against nation, nor will they train for war anymore." Micah 4:4 offers a similarly hopeful image. "Everyone will sit under their own vine and under their own fig tree, and no one will make them afraid." These prophecies reflect the universal longing for peace, where justice and security replace fear and division. But how do we move closer to this vision of peace? Is it possible to reconcile these deep divisions through understanding and dialogue? Resolving the Israel-Palestine conflict requires addressing the deep-rooted issues of identity, sovereignty, and justice. It demands empathy for the historical experiences of both peoples and a commitment to a future where both can coexist in peace and dignity. This vision is not just political, but deeply human, calling for a recognition of shared humanity above division. The story of this conflict is far from over, but its lessons are clear. Peace will not come through force or dominance, but through understanding, compromise, and the shared belief that a better future is possible. What are your thoughts on the role faith and history play in shaping this conflict and its resolution? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to continue exploring these important stories with us. What if I told you that the events foretold in Revelation have already been unfolding for centuries, hidden from plain sight, silently shaping the world as we know it? Many believe these prophecies point to a distant future, occurring within a short period. But let's be honest, the Apostle John never revealed how long this process would take. Throughout history, people have tried to interpret these prophecies, yet only in our time do they align with real-world events in undeniable ways. Wars, economic crises, AI, and global pandemics, the evidence is everywhere. Are the four horsemen already riding? Global surveillance and digital currency. Is technology paving the way for the mark of the beast? Pandemics and climate disasters. Are these divine warnings of the coming tribulations? Before we go further, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more hidden truths from the Bible to be revealed. Now, let's examine modern history through the lens of Revelation and ask the crucial question: are the end times already here? World War I and II as four horsemen of apocalypse. The world has already witnessed two devastating world wars, conflicts that reshaped nations and altered the course of history. But were these merely geopolitical struggles, or do they bear a deeper, prophetic significance? In Revelation 6:1-8, the four horsemen of the apocalypse emerge as harbingers of conquest, war, famine, and death. Many theologians and scholars have drawn eerie parallels between these riders and the horrors of the 20th century. The first rider, the horseman on the white horse, symbolizes conquest. Some interpret this as the rise of powerful ideologies and expansionist empires. The early 20th century saw the aggressive spread of imperialism, nationalism, and revolutionary movements. The world was plunged into a period of unprecedented political shifts, setting the stage for global conflict. Then came the Red Horse, the embodiment of war. World War I and World War II, the deadliest conflicts in human history, left millions dead and many nations in ruins. Following war, the Black Horse arrived, bringing famine and economic collapse. The Great Depression of the 1930s devastated economies worldwide, leaving millions in poverty. Even today, financial instability, inflation, and economic inequality continue to widen the gap between the rich and poor. Finally, the Pale Horse, the rider of death, followed closely behind. With the advancement of nuclear weapons, humanity now possesses the power to destroy itself entirely. From Hiroshima and Nagasaki to the Cold War nuclear arms race, the specter of annihilation looms over us. Even now, we see the echoes of these riders in modern conflicts, economic uncertainty, and the looming threat of World War III. Tensions in the Middle East, the Ukraine-Russia war, and growing instability across the globe all point to a future that eerily aligns with biblical prophecy. Are the four horsemen already riding among us? And if so, what comes next? China and TikTok being the scarlet beast and the prostitute of Babylon. Throughout history, empires have risen and fallen, but one nation today exerts unprecedented control over global politics, economics, and technology: China. Could this rising superpower have a deeper connection to the prophetic visions in Revelation? In Revelation 17:3, John describes a woman sitting on a scarlet beast, full of blasphemous names. This beast, often interpreted as a powerful political system, bears an unmistakable connection to China, a nation whose flag, ideology, and revolutionary roots are all deeply associated with the color red. Unlike past empires, which relied on military conquest, China wields its power through economic dominance, political influence, and technological control. With its rapid expansion in global affairs, could China itself be the scarlet beast foretold in Revelation? As this beast rises, another figure emerges, the great prostitute, Babylon the Great, who rides upon it, deceiving the nations with her seductive influence. Revelation 17:4-5. The Bible describes Babylon the Great as a force that entices kings and peoples, leading them into corruption and immorality. In today's world, few entities have captivated and reshaped global culture as profoundly as TikTok. This Chinese-controlled platform has spread like wildfire across the world, infiltrating the daily lives of billions and subtly manipulating thought patterns. With an algorithm designed to exploit human psychology, TikTok promotes vanity and self-indulgence, drawing users into an endless cycle of fleeting pleasures. More than just entertainment, TikTok has also become a tool of influence, shaping social and political discourse across nations. Governments and institutions worldwide have grown increasingly wary of its power, recognizing how it can be used for propaganda, mass persuasion, and even behavioral control. Just as Babylon the Great was adorned in luxury and excess, TikTok thrives on a culture of self-obsession, instant gratification, and the relentless pursuit of status and influence. While it offers the illusion of connection and empowerment, it subtly enslaves its users, feeding their desires while shaping their perceptions of reality. If China is the scarlet beast, building a system of global influence, and TikTok is the prostitute of Babylon, seducing the world, then what comes next? As we move forward, another prophecy looms, the release of suffering and plagues from the abyss. Could the next great disaster have already begun? COVID-19 as the hell locusts. In Revelation 9:1-11, John describes a terrifying vision. A star falls from heaven, unlocking the abyss, from which smoke rises like a great furnace. Out of the smoke comes a swarm of strange locusts with the power to torment humanity. These creatures spread suffering across the earth, creating chaos and despair. Many have speculated about the meaning of this prophecy, but in light of recent events, could it be that this vision has already begun to unfold? In late 2019, the world witnessed the emergence of COVID-19, a virus that spread with unprecedented speed, bringing fear and uncertainty to every nation. Unlike previous plagues, this one did not remain confined to one region, but quickly engulfed the entire world, disrupting economies, healthcare systems, and daily life. Governments imposed extreme measures, restricting movement, enforcing quarantines, and changing the way people interacted with one another. The pandemic revealed how fragile human civilization truly is, and how easily societies could be placed under absolute control when faced with crisis. Even more unsettling is how COVID-19 reshaped human behavior. Social distancing, isolation, and reliance on digital interaction became the norm. Physical gatherings, including church congregations, were restricted, while virtual spaces, AI-driven content, and digital currencies gained momentum. For the first time in modern history, people willingly gave up their personal freedoms in exchange for a sense of security. Was this merely a response to a health crisis, or was it a calculated shift toward a new world system, one that brings us closer to the final prophetic fulfillment? As the world moves forward, the effects of COVID-19 have not disappeared. Instead, they have laid the foundation for a future where health crises, surveillance, and government control will become the new normal. Could this be part of a greater plan to prepare humanity for the rise of the beast? If so, what other unseen forces are at work? And what is the next phase of this prophetic timeline? AI and IT as the beast from the sea and the beast from the land. In Revelation 13:1-18, John describes two great beasts, one rising from the sea and the other from the earth. The first beast is a force of immense power and authority, while the second beast serves as its enabler, performing wonders and leading humanity into submission. For centuries, scholars have debated the identity of these beasts, but in today's world, could they symbolize the rise of artificial intelligence, AI, and the information technology, IT systems that sustain it? The beast from the sea is described as a dominant force, wielding global influence and shaping the destiny of nations. In the modern age, AI is quickly emerging as the ultimate power, not just assisting humans, but replacing them in decision-making. AI now influences governments, businesses, economies, and even military operations, making choices that once belonged to human leaders. It already controls the flow of information, filtering what people see and believe, determining social trends, and even shaping political opinions. The more AI advances, the more it resembles a powerful, unseen ruler, a force that dictates reality itself. Could AI be the beast from the sea, a new kind of authority rising above humanity, demanding submission in ways we do not yet fully understand? But AI does not operate alone. It relies on an invisible infrastructure of information technology, IT, a vast network of digital systems that connects and sustains it. This is where the beast from the earth comes in. Revelation describes this second beast as one that creates an image of the first beast and gives it life, making people worship it. In today's world, IT systems function as the very foundation that enables AI's power to grow. The internet, cloud computing, 5G networks, and data servers worldwide feed AI with endless amounts of information, allowing it to expand and take control. Without this vast digital infrastructure, AI would be powerless, just as the beast from the earth works to serve and elevate the beast from the sea. Even more concerning is how this technological system is leading humanity toward a future of total dependence. Social media algorithms dictate what people think. Cloud-based AI tools process personal data, creating digital profiles that track and predict every action. Governments and corporations use this data to implement digital ID systems, cashless economies, and centralized control over transactions. In Revelation 13:16-17, we are warned of a time when no one can buy or sell without the mark. Could this be a reference to a future where AI-enforced systems, powered by IT infrastructure, determine who has access to basic necessities? As AI and IT systems continue to evolve, they are being given more authority over critical aspects of life, much like the beasts in Revelation. The question is no longer whether technology will control humanity, but how much time remains before it enforces total obedience. Could this be the system that will one day usher in the mark of the beast, a world where submission to AI-driven governance is the only way to function in society? If so, what happens when humans lose all autonomy, surrendering their fate to an intelligence beyond their control? Or cryptocurrency as the marks of the beast? In Revelation 13:16-17, John warns that a time will come when no one can buy or sell unless they have the mark of the beast. For centuries, people debated how such total control could be possible. But today, with the rise of digital money and cryptocurrencies, we are seeing the pieces fall into place. What if the mark is not a physical symbol, but a financial system that forces absolute obedience? The first step was cryptocurrency. When Bitcoin and other digital coins appeared, they were praised as a way to escape government control. But in reality, they led the world toward a future without cash, where all money exists only in a digital form. Unlike paper money, which can be used privately, digital currency operates entirely within a monitored system. Every transaction is tracked, recorded, and controlled. Once cash is gone, nothing will be anonymous. Every purchase, every sale, and every penny will be under watchful eyes. Now, governments are taking it even further. Many countries are phasing out cash and creating their own state-controlled digital currencies. Unlike Bitcoin, which operates independently, these new systems will be fully controlled by the government. They will have the power to approve or deny purchases, freeze accounts, and decide who can participate in the economy. If you refuse to comply with government rules, your money could be turned off instantly. No food, no travel, no way to survive. But the most alarming part is how this digital economy is being connected to personal identity. Governments and corporations are working on digital ID systems that will link a person's money to their records, behavior, and even social status. If this becomes the global standard, only those who obey the system will have access to financial transactions. This is exactly what Revelation foretold, a world where only those who submit to the beast's mark can buy and sell. Are we witnessing the rise of the mark of the beast? Once physical money is gone, there will be no turning back. Every person will be forced to choose, comply with the system, or be completely cut off from society. If digital money becomes the only way to survive, what happens to those who refuse it? The answer may be closer than we think. Climate change, as the vision of the sun scorches people. In Revelation 16:8-9, John describes a time when the sun scorches people with fierce heat, yet they refuse to repent. While many believe climate change is purely a scientific issue, could it also be connected to the unfolding prophecies in Revelation? One surprising link is Bitcoin and cryptocurrency mining, which consumes massive amounts of energy, contributing to global warming. The very system that may become the mark of the beast is also fueling the heat and destruction described in prophecy. For decades, scientists have warned about rising temperatures, extreme droughts, and devastating storms. But in recent years, these warnings have turned into reality. Glaciers are melting, wildfires are destroying entire regions, and heat waves are reaching deadly levels. Nations are struggling with food shortages as farmland dries up and fresh water becomes scarce. The earth itself seems to be groaning under the weight of human corruption. Is this just an environmental crisis, or is it divine punishment warning humanity before the final judgment? Beyond the disasters themselves, climate change is also shaping global politics and control. Governments are using environmental crises to justify new policies, regulations, and restrictions. Many believe that future laws will enforce carbon tracking, restricted consumption, and even population control in the name of saving the planet. Could this be another step toward a centralized system of global authority where personal freedoms are sacrificed for the supposed good of humanity? The question remains, is climate change simply a crisis caused by human actions? Or is it a sign of prophetic judgment? And if it is divine punishment, how much worse will it become before the world realizes the truth? More importantly, what will be the next event that pushes humanity closer to the final days? What Big Bang theory as the proven of the Genesis? For centuries, people have debated whether science and faith can coexist. Some believe scientific discoveries disprove the Bible, while others see them as evidence of God's creation. But what if one of the most important scientific theories, the Big Bang, is actually proof of the existence of God? Could modern cosmology unknowingly confirm what the Bible has said all along? In Genesis 1:1, the Bible begins with a simple yet profound statement. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. For much of human history, many believed the universe had always existed. But in the 20th century, scientists discovered something astonishing. The universe had a beginning. The Big Bang theory, now the most widely accepted explanation for the origin of the universe, states that everything in existence came from a single point of unimaginable energy and has been expanding ever since. This aligns with the biblical concept that there was a definite starting point, a moment when God spoke the universe into being. Even more remarkably, scientists now recognize that the universe appears to be fine-tuned for life. The laws of physics, the precise balance of cosmic forces, and the conditions on Earth are so perfectly calibrated that even the slightest variation would make life impossible. Many scientists struggle to explain this, while believers see it as clear evidence of intelligent design, proof that the universe was created with purpose. However, rather than acknowledging a creator, many in the scientific community cling to alternative explanations, such as the multiverse theory, or the idea that everything happened by chance. This echoes what the Bible warns in Romans 1:20-22, that although God's power is evident in creation, people will still reject him and worship their own understanding. As knowledge increases, so does humanity's arrogance, leading many to place their faith in science alone while ignoring the deeper truth. Could it be that modern discoveries are unintentionally proving God's existence? If so, how long will it be before the world acknowledges the truth? And more importantly, if the universe truly had a beginning, then it must also have an end. Are we approaching the moment when the Creator himself will intervene once again? What comes next? Throughout history, people have looked at the prophecies in Revelation as warnings of a distant future. But now, as we examine the world around us, it is clear that many of these events are already unfolding. Wars, economic collapse, digital control, pandemics, artificial intelligence, and environmental disasters. Each piece is falling into place, leading humanity toward an inescapable conclusion. If the past century has been the beginning of these signs, what can we expect next? The Bible warns that as the world spirals deeper into chaos, a global government will emerge, offering solutions to the problems humanity faces. This government, ruled by the beast, will promise peace, unity, and security, but at the cost of total submission. With digital currency replacing cash, artificial intelligence controlling information, and surveillance ensuring obedience, a system will arise where no one can buy, sell, or participate in society unless they accept the mark of the beast. At the same time, tensions in the Middle East continue to escalate, drawing the world closer to what many believe will be the final great war, Armageddon. Nations are already aligning. Economic and military power is shifting, and biblical prophecy warns that Jerusalem will be at the center of the world's greatest conflict. Could the wars we see today be leading directly to the final battle? But amid the darkness, Revelation offers a glimmer of hope. It proclaims that Jesus Christ will return, not as a suffering servant, but as a conquering king who will destroy the forces of the beast and establish his kingdom. The Bible assures that those who stand firm in their faith will be saved. Yet the question remains, how many will recognize the truth before it is too late? The world is changing faster than ever. Technology, politics, and global events are aligning exactly as Revelation predicted. This is not just speculation, it is happening before our eyes. Will you be prepared? Will you recognize the signs? Or will you be among those who are deceived? As we approach the final days, each person will have to make a choice to follow the world's system or to stand with God. The time is coming. The prophecies are unfolding. The decision is yours. When John wrote Revelation, he described his visions using the language and understanding of his time. He had no way of comprehending artificial intelligence, digital economies, or global surveillance, so he portrayed them using symbols, beasts, marks, and locusts, imagery familiar to his era to represent future systems of power and control. But the message remains clear. A global system will rise, demand absolute submission, and those who refuse will be cast out. Today, the beast is rising, consolidating power through global governance, economic control, and technology. The mark of the beast is taking shape as cash disappears, digital currencies emerge, and biometric IDs become mandatory. With artificial intelligence manipulating beliefs, propaganda and deception now spread faster than ever, society is being conditioned to submit, whether to technology, governments, or a future world leader. Meanwhile, instead of turning to God, many place their faith in human progress and scientific advancements. The Bible warns that in the last days, people will reject the truth and embrace deception, 2 Thessalonians 2:10-12. But Revelation is not just a warning. It is also a promise. It assures us that Jesus will return, evil will be defeated, and righteousness will be restored. What topics should we explore next? Are there specific prophecies, current events, or biblical themes you want us to discuss in future videos? Share your ideas in the comments. We want to hear from you. Your suggestions help shape the content we create.